WOVU LP, Cleveland.
This is Open Door with Vince Robinson. In-depth conversations with people who are making a difference in the lives of others here and around the world. Culture is at the heart of who you are. Know your culture, find yourself on Open Door with Vince Robinson.
Great dawning, grand rising, Cleveland, Ohio, and the rest of the world. This is Vince Robinson with another edition of Open Door. I recently had the honor of interviewing an internationally known artist and am happy to share some excerpts from that interview. Gilbert Young is a multidisciplinary artist and art conservator born in Cincinnati, Ohio. In 1994, he became an artist in residence at the University of Cincinnati and spent 27 years there as director and conservator of the school's fine art collection. He's best known for his painting, He Ain't Heavy. In his current city of residence, Atlanta, Georgia, he's responsible for painting a 700-foot mural, the largest of its kind there. Here's a portion of our conversation. First of all, let me just say what a pleasure it is to meet you.
Thank you.
I am recently coming into an awareness of you, so I've had an opportunity to do some homework and see that you've accomplished so much. One of the things that I thought about last night was the fact that you've been around for 80 years.
Yeah.
And you've seen so much.
Yes.
So I'm going to take this opportunity to introduce you to our audience. You are Gilbert Young. You are an artist from Cincinnati, Ohio, currently. Originally from Cincinnati.
But I live in Atlanta now.
Living in Atlanta now. And you are renowned for a painting that you did called He Ain't Heavy.
Yes.
But before we get to that, I'd like to talk to you about coming up in Cincinnati and embarking on a career as an artist, because your trajectory has been one that's unparalleled by a lot of artists in this country.
Yeah, I think a couple of things that you have to have, and the commitment to your craft, to be a student of your craft, so that when someone speaks to you about who and what you do, that you should try to be the most knowledgeable person in the room about what you do. Not the smartest, but the most knowledgeable person that you do when they ask a question about how things work in the arts. And so I was fortunate enough to have a lot of opportunities to chase after my dream because people, the black community, was supporting me. Okay. And that was the greatest thing. Get that internal support going from a young age to, from my first teacher who was white, who put me on the stage at 6, to my 6th grade teacher who was the first black teacher that I met and I fell in love with, and I was so much in admiration of her that I hated her husband. He was a blocker. I couldn't get next to her. I'm about 11, 12 years old, and just the fact that this woman loved what I was doing and encouraged me, and she helped me to get my first TV appearance at that early age, and it told me about a school that teaches art at the Art Academy, and I went over there for years, free. One of those communities, or programs rather, that gave free lessons to whomever would take them. And I ended up later on in my career winning a full scholarship to the Cincinnati Art Museum, and it just flourished from that point on. And being the only black for a long while in that environment, but going right back down the street and going right to my house and to my community, which was, not privileged, of course, and but that yin and yang kind of situation was interesting.
At that young age, you said that it wasn't privileged. Did you have an awareness of the black experience, and did that awareness shape the artist that you are today in terms of your dedication to African Americans?
Yeah, it happened to me one day. Because now, remember, I was going to the art school, and all the images that I was seeing was created by white people. And one day I was doodling. And if anyone knows, that is kind of like a subconscious, not conscious of what you're doing. You just start drawing something, right? And I looked down at this paper, and I was drawing a white girl. And I said, wait, what's wrong with me? Something is wrong here. And I became aware that my subconscious was being affected by all of my surroundings. And I said, I'm not going to do this again. And by the time I got to the art school the first year, which I never finished, by the way, because I was too poor to finish it. I only had 1 year of it. But I was looking for a person of color like me, and I found him, and his name is Charles White. When I saw his work, the strength of his work, and I just said, "Oh man, I'm a be." This is the naivety of a person. I said, "I'm gonna be better than Charles White," and not only became better than me.
Right. Something that teacher saw in you at the age of 6 must have been pretty profound, that she encouraged you to the extent that it did. What was it that she saw in your work?
I think I was just faster than the other kids, and I could get on stage and perform quicker than the other kids. I drew faster, but I didn't draw better. I just drew faster. But when she put me on that stage, and my little classmates, they were sitting on the floor in the gym, and my little classmates started to cheer, and I said, "Okay, this is what I'm gonna do. This is what I'm gonna do." And I told my grandmother, because at the time I was just a little younger, and she didn't feel safe, and she would walk me to school, and I told her, I said, "Grandma, I saw some men working, digging a ditch. They work for the city. And there was, all black was in the hole digging the ditch, and there was a white supervisor standing up there just watching them. And I told my grandma, I said, "Grandma, I ain't going to do that." She said, "Well, do what, baby?" I said, I'm not going to dig that ditch. I'm going to be a rich and famous artist." And then the encouragement was, "I know you will."
Yeah, so it was pretty much set at that point. You decided that was going to be your destiny.
Now, listen, I wasn't any smarter than any kid, okay? I didn't have any wisdom. I just knew that if I did this, people liked it. And other people would come, other kids would come and say, "Draw me this and draw me that." And I got attention. I wasn't very bright in school. Matter of fact, I was earmarked a slow learner, and that struggle, that thing that went across me as to, hey, wait a minute, am I really slow? So, you have this doubt about yourself, but then I can always fall back on the little drawings that I did.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So you said that you didn't finish school, but here we are, and you have international acclaim. Mm-hmm. How do you go from not finishing school to being the artist that you are?
Perseverance. Believing in what you do. Keep doing it, and not trying to reach someone else's platform or up to their standards, but your own personal standards. And saying, "Oh, I'm just drawing. I'm gonna keep drawing. I'm gonna keep drawing. I'm gonna keep doing this. I'm gonna keep doing this." And then people start liking it, and liking it, and liking it, and liking it. And I ended up the curator, by the grace of God, the curator of the University of Cincinnati, undegreed.
Yeah.
Now, let me give you a little backstory on that, because it wasn't magic. It was Dr. King. I had just gotten out of service during the Vietnam era. Dr. King had gotten killed. They started these programs trying to get for higher learning for our community, and they were just giving out scholarships to balance out the unfairness of a tradition that they were having. I came there. They thought that I wanted to go to school. I'm a conservator. I'm also a person that can restore artwork. And I started at 18 when my mother forced this old white man, to take me in as apprentice. And so that's one of the reasons I didn't finish school, because I was making money, and I thought that was the more important thing, to make the money. But what I found out was that the most important thing was the relationship and the information that this white man was giving me from his lifelong experience. And here was this young kid, this young boy, that was learning everything about restoration. And I'm 19, 20, and when he passed away, I was at 23. I took over and his position, working for one of the richest store, or the richest store in Cincinnati. So it's all about luck and being, I would say, prepared for opportunity. You know, being prepared.
Yes. And having a position as a curator is really kind of a rare thing, you know, even now it is. Mm-hmm. What was the significance of you being in a position to curate?
Well, first of all, I was the first thing that I loved about that position, that the young black kids looked up to me. And so I volunteered to be student advisor, black student advisor, be a part of the Black Studies Department, be a part of anything that had to do with young people, and creating the first murals that ever was presented in Cincinnati. That was my students and my little team that got together, and so that gave me a sense of the direction, and I knew that I was in a position where it could be resolved and taken away at any moment, and they did a lot of that. Okay, but if I could build up, with the help of my community, build up a strong relationship with them, my job security became more important for the image of a institution that had been denying of black people for decades and years and probably centuries.
Did you know how huge that was, that you were in that position at that time?
No. I thought I was young guy, gotten married, and first wife, and no, you don't know. You just think you gotta keep doing this, and I was just having fun and struggles, because behind the scene, these people were trying to cut my throat, politically and economically, and everything they could to get rid of me. But by the grace of God, I had cousins who were in the political arena, and these were my safety nets. Is one of the things that we have to do, is that we have to start building a safety net around us with the people that have the power or the influence to keep you in the position. And as you can see, we have come a long, long way from the 60s, late 60s to now, and it's to do. Listen, I never knew anything about Robert Rules of Order and all these kind of things to maintain the organization. I learned on the job training and being the chairman of my own committee and board and all this sort of stuff. And so I realized I was rare because I saw nobody around there looking like me when I did go to the conventions and stuff. And I was just lonely in the sense that I didn't have anyone that I could be a confidant. And when we saw each other, if we saw each other, we would be in a room and there'd be 1,000 people in San Francisco convention of conservation and all this sort of stuff, and we just run to each other. I mean, we're just like, wow, I got to meet this person and talk to this person because now, we're in the belly of the well, brother.
Yeah. You're listening to Open Door with Vince Robinson. My guest is Gilbert Young, internationally acclaimed artist. We'll be back with more Open Door with Vince Robinson on 95.9 FM, Burton Bell Carr Community Radio.
Hi, this is Wanda Harris from Warrensville Heights, Ohio, and you're listening to the best radio station in Cleveland, WOVU 95.9 FM, Burton Bell Carr Community Radio.
Welcome back to Open Door with Vince Robinson. My guest this morning is artist Gilbert Young. Let's rejoin that conversation. So you talked about how much things have changed since the 60s. Could you be more specific about what some of those changes might be?
Well, listen, I'm very visual, and I've watched the change in us, what positions that we hold now. The TV is a great monitor to seeing black announcers, seeing black scholars that being asked about current situations, and not just black situations, but current situations. Okay, being learned in their field that they cannot be denied. It's not about their color; it's about their skill level. And my nieces and nephews and my children that reaches platforms that I never even dreamed about because I didn't think that was even possible. Mm-hmm. Even though I had a seemingly high visibility, okay, but you don't see yourself that way. All right. One of the things that has happened to me over the years is that at that level of activity, and now that I'm in my 80s, I have begun for the last 20 years to reflect back on the journey and back on what we have done as a people. The trick is to make you feel that you have never progressed. That's why all the negative stuff comes out about us on the news and the media and all the rest of stuff, and we become the entertainment community for America, when the truth is we have really some of the backbone of these large institutions. And we never talk about the brothers who have created outside of sports institutions of monetary values and anything else, because I wouldn't show it either.
Mm-hmm. So in what you just expressed, it seems as though there's a certain activist aspect to your art. Would you say that you are an activist as an artist?
Yes, very much so. I think that any time that you are artists, that is your responsibility to speak about your conditions of where you come from. I don't care if your conditions are the ones that the elite of our community. It should be, I want to hear your voice. I want to hear what you have to say. I don't care if it's the same song, but it's new voices. And I think that's the artist's responsibility. If they have really studied their craft and their arts, listen, we as a people gave so much to to the area of arts, the blues and the jazz and the hip hop and you just name it. We gave all that to this society. I can't even imagine if we vanished off this planet and none of those resources was ever given. What would America look like? Okay, what would they be without the flavor that we add to that because of our journey?
Mm-hmm. So, just thinking about the conversation that happened earlier today when we were talking about artists who have to rely on vending in order to make a living. You know, there's this notion that if you're an artist, it's almost like you're supposed to starve. Like you're not supposed to be able to take care of yourself based on your art, but you have to have a job in order to support your artistic work. Obviously, that wasn't the case for you.
Well, it was. Now, remember,
Okay.
I was a conservator.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a skill level in the arts that supplied me with everyday monies, and I didn't have to worry about whether or not I sold something or not. What I would suggest to all the young artists is if you can find within your skill level, right, something that will bring you revenue from a commercial side of the society, do that, but understand that that is not what you want in the end. What you want in the end is to emerge out of that with a product, with a product that relates to the community so that they would say, oh, yes, this is what I have to have. This is what I have to have. And one of the things I think we took ourselves as artists, we took ourselves too serious. And what I want to say about that is taking ourselves so serious that we don't understand the person that is purchasing our artwork. And that is, most people are not buying stuff because they see such depth in it. They're buying it because it matches their couch or their decor. But that's all right. Understand it's all right because it's all about exposure.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, one of the quandaries that many artists find themselves in is making their art accessible, because many people don't really understand the true value of some art. Some art, collectible art, has an ability to appreciate. And because of that ability to appreciate, some folks who have that awareness will invest in that. But many of us don't understand the investment value of art, and as a result, we kind of underprice ourselves.
Well, that's due to the lack of education. Okay? You go to any major institution, and they will have an art program. Now, what does art cover? It covers everything. You can be an artist as far as designing the latest model of electrical cars. You can be an artist of they call utility art. It's called designers. It's called architect. It's called fashion. It's called all kinds of names under the umbrella of creativity. And so, what you have to understand is, who am I? What am I saying? And where can I take this thing called art? I knew that you could sell it. I sold my first piece about 8 years old, sitting outside a bar where I knew all these guys, these hard-working guys, would get a little tipsy, come out of there, and I sold it for 50 cents. And that was my first sale, okay? And it was nothing but a cat that I had, and I painted this little cat. I had a little beginner set, and I painted it on this little art board they call, and it was about 11 by 12 or something of that nature. And I sold it, and I said, "Wow, this is good. This is good." And you keep on doing it, you know.
Mm-hmm. Talk about your first commission.
My God, first commission. Brother, I have done so many pieces, I can't remember my first commission. It all becomes a blur. It's well, okay. Now that you made me go back into the archives. I had a buddy. He wanted to be an actor. And we found out that I could draw people's portrait, and we get a whole $5. So he would introduce himself as, and then introduce me as this artist that can do your picture for $5. And that was our first commission. We were knocking on doors in our community, and we get these ladies to pose for a minute, because remember I was kind of fast, right? And I can do some little light thing. It didn't look like I probably was drawing the same woman over and over again, and the only thing I was doing basically changing the hairstyle. But they loved it, and that was my first commissions, and we split the money, you know. But it was a good hustle on the Saturday evening where we can do something like that.
Mm-hmm. So you parlayed that into doing much larger pieces, getting into doing murals and getting, you know, acclaim from famous people. Can you talk about how you managed that trajectory?
Sometimes you have to bite off more than you can chew. You have to believe that you can do something that you've never done before. And then you have to work hard to make sure that it's done right. Okay? And that's one of the things that I was always able to do, is to say, look, I'll take this on. I can do this. Just give me a shot. I can do this. You know, even in the service, when they drafted me, I thought, oh my God, I was so afraid of going to Vietnam, and I saw this kid who was never out in the field. They put me in missiles, and I saw this guy. His name is Johnson, and he never went out in the field and trained. And I said, "Man, what do you do?" And he says, "I I'm an artist." I said, "You're an artist?" He said, "Yeah." And he showed me this little badly painting little murals they had on the wall, and I said, shoot. And I went to the PX, got a drawing pad, sit up most of the night, drew a couple of pictures, showed the first sergeant, and they put him back in the field, and they replaced him with me. And that was the beginning. When they came and asked me, could I do a mural, right? I said yes. And I did a big mural in the Consolidated Mess Hall, and the colonel's wife came, and they had an unveiling, and she said, "Make this man battalion artist."
Mm. That's really profound when you think about it, because we have these conversations about the value of art, and artists are kind of marginalized to a certain extent. You know, we've gone through what we've gone through in the past 2 years, and they identified some people as essential and other people as non-essential. And they didn't put artists on the essential, but even way back then, we're talking about the 60s, somebody saw the value in your art to the extent that they wanted to put it somewhere where everybody could see it.
Now, one of the things that I did as a young man, I understood value in marketing. And I understood how do I become different? How do I become like my heroes? And one of the things was I looked at what they were saying in their art, and they were saying something really personable. And so when I look at some of the art today, it says nothing about the person that has done it. And it's from head to shoulder. And they're mostly portrait. And they try to paint people who are famous and thinking they'd be famous.
So they're limiting themselves in the way that they depict people.
Yes.
Yeah. So your approach, I know, based on what you said last night when you said you didn't want to show the face of that person.
Right.
You're listening to Open Door with Vince Robinson. My guest is Gilbert Young. internationally acclaimed artist. We'll be back with more Open Door with Vince Robinson on 95.9 FM, Burton Bell Carr Community Radio.
Hi, this is Ken Hawkins.
Hi, this is Pinky.
This is T.C. Lewis.
This is Shantae Chappers.
This is Reggie Hayman.
This is Bill Silverby Richards. If you're not listening to WOVU 95.9 FM, you're not in the mix. I'm Silverby, crank it up.
24 hours of golden.
Welcome back to Open Door with Vince Robinson. My guest this morning is artist Gilbert Young. Let's rejoin that conversation.
What you can't forget about is who you're talking to when you create something, and who do you want, not you, want to be involved in your work. If I can't do something that sparks an emotion or something in you to have a conversation with my art, then I missed the mark. Okay? And that's what the artists, because their mentorship is basically gone out the window now. And that's what they don't get from themselves. If I wanted to speak about my art, the worst thing I can do is go to my peers that have the same skill level. Like the worst thing that people do is go to the girlfriend and say, how do I keep my man? Right? Rather than going to their grandmother who's out of the game altogether, and she had time in her life to reflect upon what it takes. Okay? That's the same way about every entity in life. So that's what I believe in, and I think my work has proven well that I was right. Now, what I say to young people, just like I was talking to a bunch of young people there last night, I spent most of my time with young people, but they ask profound questions because they're anxious to be at a level that they think is success. Now, what is success? Is it the stardom that we see today? Is it the money? What is it? Well, I think I have some concept of what is success. And success is, for me, to be satisfied with the effort that I put out only. You know, it's like Valentine's Day was just came up, right? And all these guys run out and get some candy and some flowers and then give it to the woman and expect in return something for that gift. Right? Poor women. Right? All year long, he's been a dog. Not responding to her needs and whatever, and then suddenly we got this holiday that everybody's going to do something wonderful, and people are going to have a wonderful event. Success to me is this: being satisfied, knowing that I did my best. I don't care how you look at it, but knowing and the icing on the cake is that you like it. But it's my cake.
Yeah. So, in essence, you define your own success, and you don't allow others to define it for you.
Well, that's so much of that is a losing proposition. Losing. I remember one time I don't do it anymore, but I was a younger guy and I entered an art contest, man, and I said, "Whoa, this is gonna win the show," right? And then at the last minute, I scribbled something on a piece of brown paper, cleaning that brush, and I said, I'm just painting a head right quick. And I looked at it and I said, that's all right. Because I need more than one piece to put in that show. The piece that I thought would win something, nothing. Not a thing. Okay? The piece I scribbled on got a placement, but it didn't win. But over the years, I understand what my success is. My success is within me. I cannot control anything other than me. I can control you or this environment that we're in. None of the things. Most of the people will always talk about money. Well, let's talk about achievement. Is what you do worthy of money?
Okay, all right. So I talked about it at the onset, but I wanted to get your version of He Ain't Heavy. Tell us about how that came about and what has happened as a result of it.
Okay, years ago, many years ago now, almost a half century, going through the marches and being vocal about our conditions, and Cincinnati was not the most liberal town in the world, and we were trying to make some changes, following the footsteps of Dr. King and all the SNCC and all the people that influenced us to do something. Okay, so I was at home, and we had just had a meeting, and we was holding hands, and with it was a diverse group of people, white, Jewish, black, trying to get it all together. And we held the hands and sung "He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother." Okay, now, I'm still in that mode, and I'm sitting there, and I'm watching TV, and I'm trying to say, how do you say that, right? And then I was thinking, and it's like, okay, I saw a basketball player bent over, and the camera was right in front of him. And when he bent over, the huge shoulders and them long arms, and I thought of Michelangelo's God thing, the fang of God, and the energy between the two items, right? Positions coming out of the sky. And I said, that's it. If I draw this guy reaching back, helping the other brother, and he ain't heavy, put those together, I may have something. Well, the first time I did it, I sketch a lot and work out my ideas. I put the hands and stuff together. They were actually wrapped around each one of their wrists, or the hands were around their wrists, and they were holding on. And I said, oh, no, I can't show a face because that would be, still want you, my viewer, involved. And then I looked at it and I said, they ain't working. And then I said, let me separate them. And so the viewer has a chance to put them together. And at the bottom, if you look at that painting, the hand is wide open to receive the help. Because I thought, if you have a closed mind, I can't help you. Right? And that's what I did. And hundreds and thousands of, and now I brag about it being over 1 million thing, but you cells. But you have to remember, I put them on everything that I could think of. I put it on cups and napkins and everything else, and to get that volume out there, to get that message out there over the years.
Yeah. Well, it's a profound message in that it shows brothers. And it just seems as though, and I know sisters talk about being maligned and not being paid equally and all the ways that they're discriminated against. When you look at what's going on with black men, the largest segment of the prison population is us. You know, we have programs like Black Girls Rock that, you know, really promote what sisters are doing, but we don't really have anything in general that promotes what black men are doing.
Well, that's by design, and that's by the culture standard. The prison system and what is another form of slavery for us, because the laws are written so that at any whim of a police officer, they can charge you with something. And the Congress every day making new laws. They got so many laws, you don't even know if you're violating a law by just walking down the street on the. Well, yes, you, and literally, they will ticket you if you're riding your bike in the opposite way of traffic. And I always thought riding a bicycle would be cool. I want to see the car that's coming, not the car that's behind me, so I know the car is coming. But those are laws and stuff that they make. So we get into the system, and the male is a threat. Period. Okay? But in every war, in every major conflict, what does the conqueror do? They integrate or they mate with their concubine that they have captured, because they understand human nature, that the mother of this thing that is being born is an innocent human being, and they play on their humanity. What are you going to do with the male? You kill him, and you take his manhood away from him. Okay? So this is not by an accident that this happened. And then what happens with a female? Well, just like any other great wars that history has shown us, that they made up with the people that are conquered. And it changes the dynamics of that society. And so it also changes being a male is being a male, and being I think a male that had with substance. Yeah? Remember the victimization of our community. I was there when we had to go down and get food stamps or get welfare, and you had to say to the people that are in charge that there was no male in the house. And then you signed a document saying there was no male in the house. And I was there the night that one night they checked on my mother in the middle of the night, 3 o'clock in the morning, to see if there was a male looking for extra toothbrush, shoes that were men's-size shoes. And then you had another energy out here where we couldn't get jobs to support our family. We couldn't get jobs because we were uneducated or just laborers. They didn't need them. And so if there's more laborers, we can get the cost down and hire them. But we're going through this cycle right now because of COVID, right? The wages are going up because the laborer is saying, I'm not working for anything. So it's all intertwined. It's so complicated, but it's so obvious if you take the time and reflect.
Mm-hmm. You're listening to Open Door with Vince Robinson. My guest is Gilbert Young, internationally acclaimed artist. We'll be back with more Open Door with Vince Robinson on 95.9 FM, Burton Bell Carr Community Radio.
Hi, this is Wanda Harris from Warrensville Heights, Ohio, and you're listening to the best radio station in Cleveland, WOVU 95.9 FM, Burton Bell Carr Community Radio.
We're back on Open Door with Vince Robinson. My guest is internationally acclaimed artist Gilbert Young. Back to the conversation. There are movements afoot that take advantage of technology to equalize or level the playing field. Can you talk about the emergence of NFTs and cryptocurrencies as a way for people to have more control of their intellectual property and have others invest in it?
Yeah, last night we had a guy that came up and talked about NFTs and its value and how it become valuable and how it will assist us into having an economic platform that lasts forever through the new technology, right? Like any technology that comes up that's going to battle for a position, okay? Now, I already had one of my NFTs, and I'm having the second one done, and I'm working with different companies that say we can produce it. And most people do not understand one thing. Intellectual properties only last 70 years after you're dead. So I know in the art world, and I own or have been given the permission to produce new images of Bill Trailer, who was an international artist, folk artist, okay, that the museums had stolen his work for the last 70 years and made them a fortune off of this black man born a slave and started doing work in the 70s, drawing and painting without the training. So it's very simplistic, very childlike, but very reflective of his time period and who he was and what he saw in his community. They were buying the works at 50 cents, $1, $2, $5 a big piece. We as a community thought it was silly because we don't have or didn't have the appreciation of what creativity is. When we're out here trying to survive at the level that we think that we should be surviving in, we lose all insight as to our own personal value. And that's just what happens, okay? And so with this crypto money and NFTs, it's a new way that the new world is coming to. Because if you notice, money in our pocket is becoming obsolete. I just carry a card with me. I never have any cash on me anymore, right? And I can call my wife right now and over the internet and say, hey, put money in my wallet, right? So now they've got electronic money. And this NFT never ceases. So your electronic wallet that can be traded in for cryptos and monies and everything else will never cease to exist. So my children can benefit from it because they have the right, they're the heirs of me. So I want to be out there in front of change. Now, if it fails, I didn't lose a thing.
Okay. That's it's really encouraging just to know that other artists will be able to take advantage of this new technology. I think, as you were saying earlier about education, about art and its value, there's going to have to be education about cryptocurrency and NFTs.
Again, it is not other folks' responsibility to make you aware of the opportunities that other people have. And you have to, for yourself, a great portion of our society invests in stocks and bonds. And even though it seems scary, and sometimes it is, because these are people who are in control of economic resources. And you never know what they're going to do to you because you're a small player. But you always take a chance If we can go and play the lottery on a day-to-day basis, why can't we invest in ourselves on a day-to-day basis? That's almost insanity. Hoping that one out of several millions and millions of people will win $100 million. Okay, now what are you going to do with it? I actually knew a family, black family, that won the money that tore them apart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some people win money through a lottery, and a year or two later, it's all gone because they weren't managing it responsibly.
They didn't know how. And that wasn't their expertise. And it's easier to be born at a certain level and maintain that level, whether it is poverty, middle class, rich, or whatever, because that's what you know. And nobody teaches you anything else. Right. But the internet, brother, I don't know what these people are doing, but you can almost find any and everything to be knowledgeable about a thing. Right? So I'm sitting here 80 years old, and sometimes I say, how did this artist get this tone that I would love to get? And press the button and I say, how to paint a portrait. I know how to paint a portrait, right? But I want to steal something from the other guy that has a little more than what I have. And a little more, because his experience has been different from me, and he tweaked his image a little better or less, depending. And I studied that.
Mm-hmm. Creatives like to create, but they're not always necessarily tied to business and marketing. Mm-hmm. I'm just wondering how you were able to manage your success and how you were able to manage and I know you talked about the on-the-job training that you got, but I'm just curious about how you were able to manage your success and how you learned about the business that enabled you to be successful today.
Kindness of other people. First of all, it was an old man named Cooper when I went to the trade show. First black guy I met. And I called him old man because he was old. He was almost my age at that time. And he had his stuff stuck on a board, and he was in the middle of all this activity, and he was selling art prints by the dozens at a time. Now, most of these young artists think, we can go through the galleries, and the gallery's going to make us famous. The galleries are like, I call them, being kind, social pimps. If you're not winning the race, they're not going to ride you. They ride only winners. Okay? But we have the ability now to go directly to the public, but you have to also understand what you're doing. And that's one of the things that we're going to try to bring to this city, merge the two entities together. How to monetize your art and give value to it. And then the most important thing is our community decide that it has value. So I cannot be any more, have any higher value than what you're willing to pay for it.
there's a saying that I learned way back in the 70s, and it is "A luta continua." That means the struggle continues. Without struggle, there is no progress.
No progress.
Yes. So, Gilbert Young, it has been an absolute joy to have this conversation
Right,
with you.
brother.
Thanks for joining us on Open Door. I'm Vince Robinson, and as always, know yourself, love yourself, be yourself, make today your best day. Peace.